Hey gamers, in this episode I want to talk about the difference between an antagonist and a villain in your story. Hey gamers, welcome back to Game Master's Dungeon. I'm Brian, your Game Master. Today's episode of the GM Study Hall, I want to talk about the differences between an antagonist and a villain in your story. First, we have to define both of those terms. So let's start with an antagonist. All right. So an antagonist would be someone in your story that has opposing thoughts or motives or actions against your main character, or in role-playing situations would be the party member. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that this person is evil, that this person is wrong, that this person is bad. They just have opposing views. As an example, you like one sports team, they like another sports team, and you guys argue about it. That's an antagonist. We have friends that are antagonists that can be classified as in our lives. Okay? So now, a villain is a person who has evil motives or intentions that can do harm or damage. Okay? So that means that this person knowingly does what we would think bad things. All right. So now that we have the two terms defined, let's talk about it a little more. So now an antagonist is not always a villain. They can be, but they're not always. And on the same token, a villain is and is sometimes not an antagonist. You're like, well, how does that work? Because technically, there can be times when a villain could be the main character of a story. Say, as an example, in your role-playing game, you're playing a bad guy campaign, an evil campaign. Technically, you guys would be the villains, but then you're not antagonists because you don't antagonize yourselves, if that makes sense. Now, why is the difference important in writing your story? So when you write your story, right, you got to have opposition, but opposition comes in varying degrees, right? So say we're playing Mutants and Masterminds, the street thugs that are robbing the local store would be like antagonists. They wouldn't be villains per se, or they could be villains, but well, we normally see villains in like a role-playing setting. We think of like the big bad, like the end boss, the person behind, all the bad in the campaign, and we're striving to defeat this person. So when you're writing your story, so you're going to want to use antagonists, quote unquote. These are going to be like, they could be NPCs that just have varying views and motives than your player characters. They could be, they could be thugs, they could be minions, they can be, maybe people that have, that just have different points of view than your characters. Now, your villain, we're going to do a whole video on writing your villain, like creating your villain. But just to give some brief insight into what that video is going to entail. So you're going to want to design your villain the same way you would design a player character, right? A backstory. You're going to have motivations. You're going to have aspirations. How do they think? How do they act? How do they get to where they're at? What's driving them to do what they do? Why do they do it? How do they do it? When did they start doing it? A lot of these things that you're going to want to take into account when you're creating your villain. Now, this has nothing to do with putting stats on paper. When you're villain, these are the people you're going to take the time to develop, and you're going to put love and care into these characters, because these characters are going to be in the whole campaign. They're going to be in and out. They're going to be that threat looming overhead. And the player characters are constantly thinking about. You want this person to be as real, 3D, however you want to say it, as possible, so they don't think it's just, it's the bad guy. No, you want a villain. You want a person that thinks, that acts, that's smart. I mean, maybe the villain doesn't have to be smart. Maybe they could be dumb. But I like a nice, smart villain. You know, someone that's obviously gotten to where they are, not by just punching the world in the face, but by planning, plotting, scheming, you know, taking advantage of people, doing like what we consider evil. Remember that word, evil. Villains, evil actions, intentions, motivations. Antagonists are just opposing points of view. Right, gamers? So that was the difference between antagonists and villains. So you're going to have a lot of antagonists in your games. You're only going to have one or maybe a small group of villains in your campaign, in your story, in your chronicle, whatever game you're playing. You're going to have this one thing that's looming overhead, like I said, that the players are constantly going to be thinking about. Antagonists are going to be everywhere. Technically, you could even see the player characters antagonize themselves. You know, we should do this? No, I think we should do that. An example of an antagonist, right? They're antagonizing each other, right? All right, gamers. So I hope that helped you understand the difference between the two. Antagonists can be everywhere. The villain, one big single entity or an organization of similar entities, right? That's overarching in the story. Okay? It's really important. Think about that while you're writing your story. I hope you liked this video. If you did, hit the like button. Also, if you want to support my channel, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you get instant notifications when I upload new content. And I do want to say thank you. I have hit over 200 subscribers. I want to thank all of you for coming to my channel, watching my content, and enjoying it, and I hope you continue to do so. I would love to see more of you come over to Discord and join us in our great conversations about all kinds of gaming content. Link to the server will be in the description box below. Also, follow me over on Twitter. I'll be putting updates about future content and also kind of the things that I'm doing in my gaming life, like what games I'm playing, you know, when I'm playing it, my thoughts on different games and different game sessions or whatever. And I would love to hear what you guys are doing as well. Or you can put those in the comments below. I want to see them either way. I'd also love to see some ideas on content you would like to see, games you would like to see covered, or topics you would like to talk about. So, with that, until I see you again in the dungeon, I'm Brian, your Game Master, and happy gaming.